Hi, everybody. It's Lynn. Today is Sunday, August 27th, 2023. A lot of you have been saying that you'd like to see some bead weaving. So today I thought we would do this little bracelet. This is odd count peyote stitch for our base here. And this is what we're going to do today. And I'm going to show you how to make these ends so that they're tapered like these. Okay? So for the purpose of demonstrating, I'm going to use some size 8 delicas. Okay, you can do this with size 11s. I'm going to use 8s because I want you to be able to see as good as possible. It's difficult to see this kind of stitch anyway, but I'm going to do my best to get you good shots so that you can see what I'm doing. And then on top of it here, I've used these little flowers that we got in the GGC Treasures bag, but you can use any kind of flower that you'd like if it's got the hole in the middle like that one does. Um, you have to have one with the hole in the middle pretty much to be able to do this. So I'm also going to use 6-pound fireline in smoke. Okay. And we'll be adding chain to our bracelet. I haven't pulled that out yet, but we'll do that. And we'll need a couple of jump rings. I've also pulled out some little tiny spacer beads. That's to go on top of the flowers to hold them on. Okay, because we're going to come up through that hole in the center and go through one of these little beads and go back down through that hole, and that locks it in place. So that's how we're going to do that. So if you want to gather your materials and get your needle threaded, then we'll get started. Okay, we're going to start. You want to leave yourself a good long tail, like 8 inches of tail, because we're going to sew that back into the project to get rid of the thread. So make sure you leave a long enough tail. Then I'm going to pick up 7 delicas, because remember we're doing odd count. Okay, so I have 7 delicas, and I'm going to pull them all the way down to the tail, leaving myself a good long tail to sew back in. And what I do is I put them across my finger like this to get started, because with peyote, the first couple of rows are a little awkward, but once you get those 2 done, it's a piece of cake. So here we are. We have our beads on like this. We're going to pick up a delica. We're going to skip the bottom delica and go through the one directly above it. So you're going to go through the second bead and pull. And what that's going to do is make the beads sit side by side like that. Okay, so now you see where we're coming out. We're going to pick up another delica, skip a bead, and go through the next bead. Okay, I've got a delica on my needle. I'm going to skip this bead and go through this bead. Pull it, and it'll sit next to the one you just put it next to, like that. Okay, we're going to do that again. Pick up a delica, coming out here, skip this bead, and go through the next bead and pull. Okay, now you see we have this extra bead up at the top here. What we have to do is we have to do an odd count peyote turnaround. So again, we're going to pick up a delica, but this time we're going to go down through this bead and down diagonally through 2 more. This is what you'll have. Okay, pull that, and it's going to make that bead flip over like that. But look where you're coming out. You're coming out way down here. So we've got to get back up there. So what we're going to do is we're going to go across that thread bridge there, up through the bead that's sitting next to the one we're coming out of, and pull. Okay? We're coming out right here. Now we're going to go up through this bead and up through this bead Okay, pull that on through, flip your work. Well, and then come up through that bottom bead. And what we're doing there is we're setting ourselves up for the next row. Okay, so pick up another bead and go. Now you're going to go through the up beads, just a bead at a time. Through the next one. Okay, and one more. All right, flip your work, and now you're ready for the next one. Go through the up bead on the right hand side there. Pick up another one, go through your next up bead. One more. And now we're back to where we have to do another weird turnaround. Okay? And we're going to do it just like we did the other one. One more time. I'm going to do it real slow with you. Pick up your bead, come down through this bead, your bead to the left, go down in a diagonal down those 3 beads. Okay, right here. Pull that down so that this bead flips over next to that one, then get back up into position. So come up through the one next to where you're coming out, and then up through the one in the middle here, and then flip your work and come back up through that bottom bead. Okay, so let's do one more turnaround. As we go back the other way, there's no turnaround. It's just putting beads in the, putting them next to the next bead, like so. Okay, flip your work. Here. Through the up bead. Through the up bead, and we're ready for the turnaround again. So pick up your delica, come down through the top 2 beads there on a diagonal, go to the left and up. Okay, we're coming out here. We're going to go through this bead because we got to turn around to get back into position. Through this bead, flip your work, and then come back up through this bead. Okay, so you guys just keep going until you get it to the length you want it, and then come on back and we'll do the tapered ends. Okay, all right, I'll be back shortly. Okay, everybody, I'm back, and I've gotten my strip to the length I want it. Now I'm coming out down here. Okay, right here. I want to get to where I'm coming out of this up bead because we're starting our taper now. Okay, so the way I'm going to do that, all I need to do is just snake around with my needle to get to that bead. So I'm coming up here, I'm coming up through 2 beads at the bottom. No, wait, I don't want to do that. I want to come up 1 bead right here. Okay, then I'm going to pull it over and come out that bead that I want to be at, because it'll fall down into this thread bridge here. Okay, like so. Pick up a delica, put it in the next up bead, pick up a delica, and go into the next up bead. Okay, now we're coming out here, and we want to come out here. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing. We're going to turn around. We're just going to go down through the bead next to the one we're coming out of here, and then move over and come out the bead we want to come out here. Now we just need to put a delica right there. Okay, so put it there, and this end is complete. So what we want to do now is weave our thread in to end it off. And the way we do that is just sewing back through a bunch of beads, change directions a lot. Okay, then go back. Just weave around inside your piece. Until you're absolutely sure there's no way the thread can come loose. See what I did there? I went around and around. That way that thread's not going to pop out of there. I'm going to do that again. Just go round and round. Okay, now we can cut this thread, and we'll put our needle on the tail thread at the other end and finish that. Okay, so let's do that. You know, thread is round and the eye of our needle is kind of flat. So I take a pair of flat pliers and flatten the end of our thread down just a little bit, and that usually makes it a little bit easier to thread a needle. Okay, just a little tip. Because it is hard to get. Well, you see? Okay. So now we're going to do the same thing on this end. Okay, we're coming out here. We're going to have to put in another thread here. This is where we started. So I'm not in a good place here, and I've got to figure out a way to turn around. So what I'm going to do is just weave back around till I can get my needle so that it comes out the right way. Well, it's not supposed to be that difficult. Seems like I only have difficulty when I'm trying to show you guys something. Okay. Now I've got my thread where I need, right here. So I'm going to pick up a delica, put it here, another one here, and another one here. Now I want to get so that I'm coming out this. So I got to turn around, just like we did on the other side. Okay. Delica here, a delica here, and we got to do another turnaround. So reverse direction, and then come, whoops, I went down too far. Come down through this bead right here to put that last bead on. Okay, and there we go. Now we're going to do the same thing with this one to end our thread. Just sew through some beads. going in circles. All right, you guys, get that done. End your thread and put a new piece of thread on and come on back. Maybe about 3 feet worth of thread and come on back and we'll finish up. Okay, everybody, excuse me, I'm back and we're ready to put our thread on that we're going to use to attach our flowers. Now, the way you add thread to a peyote piece is the exact same way that you can finish thread. We're going to pick a bead and go through, pull it through, just leave enough of a tail to hang on to, and weave around to get the thread secure. Okay? You can do the very, very same thing. Just, take it in circles. You will have to hold on to that tail real good the first time to pull it down into the thread bridge area. Okay? So go around and around a couple of times. And when you can pull the thread and it won't move, you should be fine. Okay, that's not going anywhere. So I'm going to cut off my excess thread here. I caught it just a second. Okay, get that out of my way. Okay, now we're ready to start to sew on our flowers. So I'm going to kind of find the middle and get to that point. Got a ways to go, just going back and forth. I'm going to get to the middle and put that one on first because that way it'll help me judge where I want to put the other ones. Okay. One second, you guys. Okay. All right, let's see. Okay, that's good right there. Okay, now we're coming up through the piece this way. I gotta let the cat out, y'all. I'm sorry. I'll tell you, when my kitty wants outside, she won't shut up until you let her out. Okay, so take one of your flowers and drop it onto your needle. Pick up one of your tiny little beads here. You can use spacer beads, you could use size 11 seed beads, whatever. Go back down through that flower and back down through the piece and pull. Okay? Whoops, got that too low. All right, we'll fix it. Come back up through the piece. Back up through the flower. Go through your spacer bead again. Back down through the flower. And there you go. Now we're going to take our thread and move it over to where we want our next flower. Just by weaving through the beads, back and forth. Now, if you want to measure, you feel free. I'm just going to eyeball where I want it. Back and forth. And up. Okay. Pick up your next flower. Drop it down. Pick up your next spacer bead, seed bead, whatever you're using. Go back down. And reinforce. Ooh, I tangled my thread up, y'all. That's not good. But that's okay. It's not secure, so I can just pull it back out. Hopefully. Oh, okay. That was a mess. But that's what you do if you mess up like that. Just reverse what you've done. Okay. We're still reinforcing one more time. Back through your spacer bead. Back down through the flower. And pull. Okay. Now we need to work our way to the other end. We're going to do that just going back and forth, back and forth. Almost put a knot in it there. Be careful about that, y'all. Watch your thread. This is very difficult to see with the black beads and the black thread. So, but I don't want thread showing on the edge, and it will if, if you don't coordinate your thread. Which I guess is fine if you want to use it as a design element, you could do that. Okay, up through the piece. Okay, pick up a flower, pick up a spacer bead, pull them down, and go back through the flower. And reinforce that. Come back up through the flower, through the bead again, and back down through the flower. Well, if I can find the hole. Okay. And back down. Okay. Now all we have to do is weave our thread back through. Now, as you can see, I didn't get those perfectly placed, but this was more about showing you guys how to do this. Probably would have been better if I had measured. Well, we know it would have been better. Okay. All right. So then we would cut this off. And now we want to put our chain on. Now I measured while I was off screen to see how long I needed my chain and went ahead and cut the right amount of chain. So now I'm going to just attach it. And with a size 8, you can use a jump ring to attach. I don't know that you would be able to if you use size 11s. All you do is just put the jump ring on that one Delica that sticks out like that. Yeah, I'm just butterfingers this morning. Okay, there's that side. And this side, put it through the Delica. Hook your chain on. And close your jump ring. Okay? And then all we would do is put our clasp on, which I'm not going to do on screen with you guys because this video is getting long. But here's our bracelet. This is what it will look like. And as I said, I didn't get that placed properly, but you now see how to do it, which is the main thing. You learn a new stitch. Odd count peyote. It's very, very handy if you want something, if you want to be able to center something. So give that a try, you guys. And it just takes practice. Just keep working with it and you'll get it and you'll be fast and you'll be right. So I hope you guys have a beautiful day. Remember to take good care of yourselves and I'll see you on the next video. Bye-bye.